So here's the deal, guys. In the world of professional color grading, one of the things that you guys are going to hear a lot is that if you want to take color grading seriously, you're going to need to stop color grading in the GUI, the graphical user interface of the program, and start color grading with a reference monitor that has a clean SDI input. And while this information is very much so true, to me it's not the information that most people need to hear to be empowered to create. The reality is, a lot of people can't afford a high-end consumer monitor that costs $2,000 that even has those wider color spaces, let alone a $10,000 reference monitor with an SDI input and the cards that you're going to need to install into your computer to get that SDI output. So today we are going to be talking about a good tool that every colorist should have in their arsenal to calibrate their monitors and get the best color possible with what they have. What's good, everybody? For those of you guys who are new to my channel, my name is Sydney Baker Green. I'm a nationally published wedding and portrait photographer, cinematographer, and colorist. And here on my channel, I'm all about keeping it real and giving you guys information that empowers you guys to create. And today we are going to be talking about a tool that you can use to calibrate your monitor and get the best color you can with the tools that you have. And we're going to talk a little bit about some technical stuff first. What are the color spaces of monitors? Why you're going to need a tool like this, the limitations. This is not going to be a walkthrough, and here we are at the product we're talking about, Datacolor SpyderX Elite. This is not going to be a walkthrough of that because I'm not going to waste your time. There's tons of walkthroughs on YouTube, but furthermore, our good friends over at Datacolor have done an amazing job at creating a graphical user interface that makes the point A to point B process of calibrating your monitor super easy. We're going to be talking about the reason why I went with the Elite and the expert settings on that, and we're going to be talking about some other things that I think you need to know about as you're going through this process. Some things that I could see confusing for an end user if you're not as proficient in color spaces and calibrating your monitor. So let's go ahead and first talk about why do we calibrate our monitors? Well, for the most part, most good consumer monitors designed for art at least have 99% sRGB coverage. This allows us to have a color space that is close to the standard of what we do, Rec 709 and BT 1886. These are the color spaces that are used for most high definition TV panels, phones, so on and so forth. I know the new iPhone actually has access to Rec 709, I believe I read that somewhere, and most TVs are operating on Gamma 2.2 Rec 709 or BT 1886. So for the most part on what you're doing, this is going to allow you to get pretty close. It's not going to be the quality, the nuanced quality of a reference monitor that has all those true values so you really see what you're getting. But we're going to be able to get as close as possible, right? So the reason why I also like a tool like this, before we get into what you need to know, is that we just talked about those TVs, right? Well, those newer TVs out there have been a good workaround for tons of creators out there because they have access to some color spaces that would be very valuable to our creative workflow, even if they're not as accurate as possible as you would want them to be on a multi-million-dollar production. And what you can really do is rail those in and edit them down to a specific color space, such as P3 if it has it available, so on and so forth. And you can check that with this tool. Does it have P3 available? You can do a monitor check to see where it's at so you can really see what you're doing. And as I just mentioned, you know, what color space does your monitor have? That's going to be something you want to know. You can use this tool to check it. It's just called Check Cal. It's in the menu system. It's a shortcut on the bottom of the graphical user interface, super easy to find because you're not going to be able to change your 99 to 100% sRGB monitor to 100% P3. So whatever the widest color space you have is what you're going to be able to work with, or you can go down to one of those lower ones such as Rec 709 or sRGB, so on and so forth. But it's not going to allow you to go above that, right? So let's talk about some of the features that you're going to love on this, and then we'll get into that expert counsel and wrap it all up. One of the cool things that I like about the SpyderX Elite is that it checks your room level lighting, right? It allows you to see, is the light in your room good quality? Is it too high for color grading? And if it is, then it tells you, hey, you're gonna need to put your monitor at the max output and get a a hood for your monitor so that light isn't hitting it and that you're getting the exact representation possible. That was a really good thing for me in this studio because as you can see, I have tons of light above for aesthetics and creating YouTube videos, and I also have two huge windows here which throw light onto my computer screen. For the most part, I have my monitor set at a brightness that I've calibrated it to, and I just turn off all the lights in the room so that I'm really focused on the color that I'm getting, which is something you guys can all do, but that's just a really cool feature about this. It has you sit it on the table and it says, hey, your room level is really good or it's very high, get a hood. The next thing that we're gonna be talking about is again, a feature that you're gonna need to look out for when it asks you what type of panel do you have. I think this could have been worded a little bit better, but it's gonna ask you, do you have a standard LED panel or a wide LED panel? Basically, that TV I was talking about upstairs, anything above sRGB, so if you have Rec 709 or P3, ST2080, wide LED. If you have just a 100% sRGB monitor, it's gonna be a standard LED for you. So that is going to be that feature that you choose there. So the last thing we're gonna be talking about is going to be that expert panel. Why? Because if you just have the assistant take you through, the only thing you're gonna be choosing is a gamma and a brightness value. You are not going to be controlling your color space. This is why I said you need to know what color space your monitor has, because that's going to influence how you use the expert panel. So for example, my TV upstairs doesn't really hit 99% of P3, but it does hit 100% of sRGB, which means I can calibrate it to Rec 709 and be perfectly fine at the right gamma, right? So you just have to know what that is, but it allows you to choose that color space, and that's going to be important. So this is a good tool that really all around gives you the tools you need to succeed. And like I said, it's a great workaround for somebody who's not able to afford a $10,000 reference monitor. And for complete transparency, as a serious colorist, I do not own a reference monitor. What I will do is I will rent a reference monitor if the job requires it. But for the most of the work that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, right, which is gonna be YouTube, creating content for people who are going to be using it in their business to show to people on their phones and stuff like that, or on a TV, doesn't require a reference monitor. So after you've gone through and went through all the settings, we talked about the standard LED setting, the expert council setting. It's gonna ask you if you've plugged it in, made sure your monitor's warmed up, so on and so forth. But you're gonna see a little box come up at the very end of the process where you're gonna finally put the color calibrator on the monitor or TV you're calibrating. Personally, I just use 2 pieces of Scotch tape, especially on the TV upstairs, to keep it in place and to keep it flat. I keep light pressure on there so I don't break the panel. Do that at your own risk. I'm completely okay with doing that. And then you're just gonna press okay. It's gonna go through and do its thing. If you do have it set to a certain brightness or a Kelvin level, it'll have you maybe adjust that to get it to close to where it wants to be. But if you just have it do an automatic brightness calibration or ignore the brightness like I do, it's gonna go through that process and boom, all you have to do is save and you're done. And then the awesome part at the very end of this process is that you have Spider Tune and Spider Proof. You're able to see what your display looked like before and switch between the new profile and your old display's profile. And that'll show you just how far off your colors were. In a lot of cases, I really was off on the reds, even on my sRGB monitor. And even on the TV upstairs, the reds were actually too intense and they had to be brought down into a proper value. So that is a color that all displays really struggle with. But all in all, this is a tool that I would definitely recommend. A link is in the description down below if you are interested in checking out the SpyderX Elite. Anyway guys, that is it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to give me a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, turn on my post notifications if you have not. Be sure to follow me on my social media. The links are in the description down below. Check out my website. The link is also in the description down below. And be sure to follow the YouTube fam, where the links in the description down below. My beautiful people, now more than ever, if you are ever feeling uninspired, uncreative, or just want to give up on life, remember, every day, airplanes take off against the wind. Keep climbing, stay inspired, guys. And as always, stay fabulous. My name is Sydney. I'll see you beautiful people next time. Peace out.